In recovery, people working the conventional steps often get jammed up when they come to the steps about making amends. And it's actually a two-step process. In the conventional 12 steps, it's the eighth and ninth step, the eighth step being made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. And then in the ninth step, it's making amends wherever possible, except when to do so may injure them or others. Well, one is not the other. They have to be done separately because all we're doing in the eighth step is looking at the damage that our disease has done to others. We're taking full account of the toxicity that we've brought into their lives. Remember in one of my other tapes, I've spoken that we're toxic, we're poisonous as a pit viper. When we're out there, we go through people's lives like a tornado. We don't have to do that anymore. But when we're doing the amends, it's good to take a look at the human toll of our disease, not only ourselves, but those we harmed. And, write down who it was and what you did to them. And don't make excuses. At this point in the game, don't sit there and say, well, he did this to me first. We can deal with that later. But right now, just look at what you did. You're doing this for you. The focus is on yourself. So look, what did I do? How have I harmed these people? And make that list. And now the other part of it says to become willing to make amends to them all. That's not practical. And I've learned over the years they might want to word it differently. More became willing to take stock of it all and, to do something to prevent this from happening again. And in some cases, yes, to make amends. Because we can't make amends to them all. So what we want to become willing to do is to amend ourselves so we don't do things like this again, to correct any damage we've done that we can correct, and in other cases, to learn the lesson and not do a repeat performance. Step 8 is not step 9. Now, in step 9, we go to make those amends. And this requires a lot of discretion because it can blow up in your face. It can really rattle you. And you can make some very bad blunders. The key part of this is except when to do so will injure them or others. It also should say except when to do so will injure your recovery, your status in life. Don't walk into a left hook. Making amends is not penance and asking forgiveness. It's trying to fix a wrong. And if you go there expecting forgiveness, you're going to be let down because some of these people might take it as an opportunity to let you know exactly what they think of you in no uncertain terms. And you may have trouble handling that. So step 9, I advise you leave it alone until you've got at least 6 months to a year solid recovery where you've actually made progress. Because this is the one you can trip on. Now, you got to be careful how you do this because you don't want to harm the person or someone else. Sometimes you can't make the amends because knowledge of it would hurt them. For instance, admitting to spouses that you cheated. Well, that might not be such a good idea because now there was no damage to the relationship, but you've damaged it. He or she knows. Better they don't, especially if this cheating isn't going to happen again. Sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut for the good of your marriage or your relationship or for the good of your spouse or your partner. Now, I had a friend who made a big blunder. When he was doing his thing, he fooled around with his wife's best friend. And this was her friend since childhood. They had a brief fling, fooled around a few times, that was it. It was over for years. But when he made amends, one of the things he did was apologize to his wife for having sex with her best friend. And it harmed two people right off the bat. It harmed the friend because your amends, you shouldn't be dragging someone else into jeopardy, no matter how much you feel you got to make amends. And it harmed his wife. It destroyed that friendship and it hurt his relationship as well. There's cases where you got to shut up about it. That's it. Don't go running to the police to confess that, oh, I did this awful crime 3 years ago, because what good does it do for you to be in jail? What good does it do your recovery to have this legal matter? That's not what the step is about. It's about making repairs where possible, where feasible. You have to plan it carefully. You have to think it through. And when you go to do it, make sure that, again, you're not going to hurt anyone. And even then, some people are going to react badly to you. The kind of damage this disease does makes enemies for life sometimes. And so when you go to say, I apologize, they may accept it through gritted teeth, but they certainly don't want to see you again. Or they may tell you in no uncertain words how they feel about the whole thing. If you can't handle rejection, leave that person alone. Again, it has to be done subtly. And I've had some unusual experiences with this. There was a young man who had fooled around with his brother's wife a few times years earlier. And he really felt the need to make amends to his brother, not to apologize, but to set things right. And I said, well, you can never tell him. He says, no. But what you can do something good for your brother without him knowing who did it. Very easy to assuage the guilt that this man felt. And this step can help with guilt, although we should be getting over it. But this is just one of, a little technique. Do some good for that person without them knowing you did it. That can be a good way to make a silent amend, an anonymous amend, if you will. Tough steps to do. You really need to give yourself time and use discretion and make sure, again, if making amends puts you in jeopardy, you don't do it. Because you're not doing yourself, your family, or anyone around you any good if you're in jail. If you have people after you, if someone is out plotting revenge, if you're going to lose your job, whatever, you don't want to do that. This step is not here to cause you more harm. It's to help you repair what harm you can. It may not be much that you can repair. You won't be able to do it with everyone. And another thing when we get to that is there are some people you don't have to make amends to. If you cause the ruckus in the bar 2 nights a week, you don't have to make amends to the bartender and the bar buddies because they're not victims of it. They were part of it. Always understand that. You don't make amends to running partners, drug dealers, loan sharks, gambling houses, ever. Because they were part of the disease. They don't deserve the amends. It's the people who are truly victims. Friends, loved ones, people who meant well and tried to do well for you. That's where your amends should be focused. Use discretion, keep an open mind, but in this step, caution. Give yourself plenty of time to get some good solid recovery before you pursue step 9 in earnest. Step 8 you can work on right away by starting to compile that list. But step 9 takes time. It's been my experience and observation. This is Uncle Thor. Success with your recovery. Make sure all goes well, okay?